The first thing Daniel Carter noticed was the shoes. They were too small for the little boy wearing them. The rubber toes had split open, and two tiny socks peeked out through the cracks as the child shifted his weight. From one foot to the other in the cold, December air, Daniel slowed his steps. Christmas lights glowed across the storefronts of the busy Chicago street, reflecting in the frosty windows of cafes and bakeries. People hurried past with shopping bags, laughing, wrapped in thick coats and scarves. But on the edge of the sidewalk, near the entrance of a grocery store, a young woman stood quietly with two small twins beside her. A cardboard sign rested against her leg. "Please help. Just need food for my kids." Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. He knew that look, the look of someone trying to stay strong while life slowly crushed them. The woman looked no older than 25. Her dark hair was tied back messily, strands falling across her tired face. She held the twins close as cold wind swept through the street. One of the children, the boy with the broken shoes, stared longingly at a man carrying a large box of Christmas cookies. Daniel stopped walking. He checked his wallet instinctively. $32. That was everything he had left until his next paycheck. For most people, that wasn't much. For Daniel, it was the difference between gas for the week and walking to work. He exhaled slowly. 2 years earlier, Daniel had never imagined life would look like this. Back then, he had a decent construction job, a small house in the suburbs, and a wife who filled their home with laughter. Then came the layoffs. Then came the hospital bills when his wife got sick. Then came the funeral. And after that, the house was gone too. Now Daniel lived in a tiny, one-room apartment above an auto shop and worked long hours fixing delivery trucks, just to stay afloat. He understood what desperation looked like, because he lived close enough to it every day. The little girl tugged gently on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, I'm hungry." Her voice was so soft, Daniel almost didn't hear it. The mother knelt quickly, brushing the girl's hair back. "I know, sweetheart," she whispered. "Just a little longer." Daniel looked down at his wallet again. $32. Gas, groceries, rent coming next week. His mind told him to keep walking, but his feet refused. He stepped toward them. "Hey," Daniel said gently. The woman looked up quickly, a mixture of caution and hope in her eyes. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. "Have you guys eaten today?" She hesitated, then slowly shook her head. "Not really." The twins stared at him silently. Daniel's heart twisted. "Come on," he said. He gestured toward the grocery store behind them. "Let's get you some food." The woman blinked, surprised. "You don't have to." "I know," Daniel interrupted softly. "But I want to." For a moment, she looked like she might cry. Instead, she nodded. Inside the store, the warm air wrapped around them like a blanket. Christmas music played softly through the speakers. The twins' eyes widened at the sight of food. Daniel grabbed a small cart. "All right," he said, kneeling beside them. "Pick what you want, but we gotta keep it reasonable, okay?" The little boy nodded seriously. Within minutes, the cart held bread, peanut butter, milk, bananas, and a small pack of cookies. The twins had stared at for nearly a full minute before shyly placing them inside. The woman tried to protest several times. Daniel just shook his head. "It's Christmas Eve," he said simply. When they reached the checkout counter, the total flashed on the screen. $28.47. Daniel swallowed. That left him barely $3. The cashier bagged the food while the twins watched with wide eyes. As Daniel reached for his wallet, the woman suddenly touched his arm. "Wait." Her voice trembled slightly. "I need to tell you something." Daniel looked confused. "What?" She hesitated, then took a slow breath. "My name is Emily." Daniel nodded politely. "And I didn't expect anyone to stop tonight," she continued quietly. The twins held onto her coat as she spoke. "But when you did, I realized something." Daniel frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Emily reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something small, a folded photograph. She handed it to him. Daniel unfolded it and froze. It was an old picture of himself, younger, happier, standing beside his wife outside their old home. His stomach dropped. How do you have this?" Emily's eyes shimmered with emotion. "Because your wife saved my life." The words hit him like a shock. Daniel blinked. "What?" Emily nodded slowly. 3 years ago, I was living in a shelter with my newborn twins. Their father had left. I had no money, no job, nowhere to go. Her voice shook slightly. One day I fainted outside a pharmacy. I hadn't eaten in almost 2 days. Daniel listened, confused but unable to look away. Your wife was the one who found me, Emily continued. She took me to the hospital, stayed with my babies, brought food, diapers, everything. Daniel's chest tightened. He hadn't known this. His wife had always helped people quietly. She never talked about it. She visited us for weeks, Emily said softly. She helped me apply for jobs, find daycare, even paid my rent for a month so I could get back on my feet. Daniel felt his throat close. That sounds like her, he whispered. Emily wiped a tear from her cheek. I carried that photo because she told me about you. She said you were the kindest man she knew. Daniel stared at the picture. For a moment, the grocery store faded away. It felt like hearing her voice again. But life got hard again this year, Emily continued. I lost my job 2 months ago when the company shut down. She looked down at the twins. I've been trying to hold things together, but tonight we had nothing left. Daniel swallowed. So when you walked up, it felt like she sent you. Silence hung between them. The cashier quietly slid the bags across the counter. Daniel suddenly laughed softly, a shaky, emotional laugh. You know something? He said. My wife used to say something like that. Emily looked at him. She always said kindness travels in circles. Daniel handed her the bags. Looks like she was right. Emily hugged the groceries tightly. Thank you, she whispered. But before they could leave the store, a voice spoke behind them. Daniel Carter? Daniel turned. A tall man in a long coat stood near the entrance, looking surprised. Mike? Daniel said, stunned. It was Mike Reynolds, his old construction boss, the man who had laid him off 2 years earlier. Mike walked closer. I can't believe it's you, he said. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. Yeah, it's been a while. Mike looked at the groceries, the twins, then back at Daniel. I saw what you did in here, he said. Daniel shrugged. It wasn't much. Mike shook his head. Actually, it was everything? He crossed his arms thoughtfully. You remember the new housing project we're starting next month? Daniel nodded. I've been looking for a site supervisor, Mike continued. Daniel blinked. Someone honest. Someone who takes care of people. Mike smiled. I think I just found him. Daniel stared at him. You're serious? Dead serious. The job would mean steady income, benefits, security again. Daniel felt his eyes sting. He looked down at the twins. The boy with the broken shoes grinned up at him, and suddenly Daniel understood something his wife had always believed. Kindness never disappears. It just waits until the moment someone needs it most. That Christmas Eve, Daniel had spent his last $30 on strangers. But somehow, it turned out to be the greatest investment of his life. And as the snow began falling gently outside the grocery store, 4 people stepped into the cold night carrying something far more powerful than money, hope.